This thing that he's doing where he's pretending that he's a woman is very smart.
It really don't make a difference if you say he or she to me.
Some psychopath can just pretend that they're a woman and knock women over on the court.
I gotta take this out. Norman's a fucking woman, dude. I bet.
Oh, it's a giant dude. A giant dude
Ripped.
just dominating these chicks. So the more controversy there is, the more people do come to see them. The crazy thing about the WNBA, imagine if the NBA had the same sexual dynamic. Imagine if the most of the team was a bunch of gay dudes who were very aggressive and black.
The WNBA is currently standing at a massive ideological crossroads, and the front office is panicking as the biggest names in sports commentary dismantle the league's double standards on national television.
If you can't define what a woman is, then you're an idiot, and this is nonsense. And that's what your ideology is. Your ideology is so stupid, you can't define the difference between a male and a female. And so you've decided that people identifying with something means it's a real thing, and you have to say it because everybody else says it, and they scare you, and they'll cancel you and go after you. So everyone's agreed to nonsense. So this is where we painted ourselves into this dumbass fucking corner.
Began as an aggressive attempt by corporate media to push political narratives has completely backfired, igniting a ferocious public debate that stretches all the way from top podcast studios to mainstream news broadcasts.
Griner now adding her voice to the debate over transgender athletes. She's a WNBA star, slamming the push to ban biological men from competing against biological women.
So when someone like BRITTNey Griner says, actually, I'm going to fight for men to play in women's sports, is just another blow against lots of young female athletes.
But they've painted themselves in a corner, because if they don't let the guy in, it looks bad.
Right.
But if they do, he's going to dunk.
Well, the thing is, can you define what a woman is? And until you can't, if you can't define what a woman is, then you're an idiot. And this is nonsense.
On an explosive episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, host Joe Rogan took aim at the sports establishment, declaring that athletic institutions have painted themselves into a completely absurd corner where they can no longer even define what a woman is. Rogan then laid out the cold, hard facts.
One of the things that Joe Rogan, a prominent podcaster, one of the things that made him wake up to this issue is he's an MMA fighter.
Correct.
And when Joe Rogan saw biological males who are transitioning to female beating the hell out of biological females in the ring, he started to think,
what are we doing?
What are we doing here? Like, why are we cheering this on?
If you say anything like, look, trans women aren't women. There are men who identify as women, which is fine, but there's a biological distinction that protects women in sports, and that's chromosomes. We know XX chromosome, you're a woman, XY, you're a dude. Do it that way. Call yourself whatever the fuck you want. But if you want to play in the WNBA, you have to have X.
Emphasizing that biological reality comes down to basic genetics. XX chromosomes for women and XY for men. He warned that allowing biological males into female sports completely destroys the fundamental protections that Title IX was built to provide.
Doesn't the WNBA have an onus of responsibility to be able to ensure that it's fair playership, though? I don't know if playership's a word.
For college sports and for the WNBA, too, 100%. I mean, I don't think it's ever okay for guys to be playing girl sports, but if this is true, then she was like the origin of this epidemic.
Mostly big black gay ladies and a few scared-looking Sophie Cunninghams that have to point fingers at people. I mean, you're surrounded by people who think you're perhaps sexually attractive.
They've made it into a reality show. It's become like Real Housewives. They're all just fight now.
Right.
That's the only reason you watch.
But it is an interesting sexual dynamic.
During the discussion, Rogan highlighted the intensely political environment inside the WNBA, pointing out how outspoken common-sense stars like Sophie Cunningham are forced to stand up for biological reality, while surrounded by league narratives that ignore basic science.
You're going to have a tremendous platform, but where is that going to be on your radar in terms of advocating for athletes, all athletes, transgender athletes to be able to play?
Oh, I mean, that ranks high on the list of things that I'll be fighting for and speaking up against. Everyone deserves the right to play.
The WNBA's BRITTNey Griner is a man.
That's not a woman. That's not a female. That's not even a trans person. That is a man.
BRITTNey Griner is, in fact, a man.
The tension escalated even further when WNBA veteran BRITTNey Griner publicly inserted herself into the middle of the national controversy. Griner slammed ongoing efforts to restrict biological men from competing in women's sports, claiming on camera that everyone deserves the right to play and promising to use her platform to actively fight for trans athletes.
It really don't make a difference if you say he or she to me. Like when I'm out in public, like my teammates sometimes will get mad if somebody call me a he, but I'm just like, I don't care. Like, we go sit down and get some food and they're like, sir, what do you want? I'm like, yeah, let me get the steak, medium well. thank you. I'm in TSA and I'm going through TSA and, you know, the guy pats me down so I could go through. I'm cool. I didn't have people come running like, no, it's a girl. I'm like, hey, you're making it awkward. Yeah. Like, I'm just trying to get through. Whoever could pat me down the fastest, I don't care.
Yeah.
I've had the opposite where someone was like, hey, you know, it's just against the rules. Like, he can't pat you down. Like, she has to pat you down. And then she walks up and she's looking at me. She goes looking at my chest, looking me up and down, looking at my chest, trying to look at the ID, making it awkward. Or they'll ask me, you really a girl? No, I'm lying.
Her statements immediately drew widespread criticism across major news networks. Author Douglas Murray publicly called out Griner's comments as a devastating blow to thousands of hardworking female athletes across the country, noting that her stance actively undermines young women fighting for hard-earned roster spots, college scholarships, and fair podiums.
Everyone deserves the right to play, so she's now weighed in on this. She's got a big voice.
I suppose it's sort of lucky that Brittney Griner's not just starting off, because if these are the rules when she was starting off, then the whole thing might be different. The problem we have in America on this is that there's a very distinct lack, actually, of women defending women in the public square on issues like this. And that isn't the case in every other country. And for instance, in my own country of origin, Britain, there have been very, very prominent women, not just in sports, but across the political and social platforms who have objected to precisely.
Murray pointed out that even Rogan first recognized the inherent danger of this issue years ago after watching biological males transition and physically dominate female competitors in combat sports. While radical activist groups cheered Griner's statements, female sports legends have stepped forward to lead a fierce counter-protest. Sports icons like two-time Olympian Sharon Davies and tennis legend Martina Navratilova publicly slammed Griner's narrative, pointing out that nearly 14,000 female athletes have already suffered worse finishing positions and lost opportunities due to unfair biological competition. Navratilova explicitly demanded that activists stop trying to redefine feminism and respect the biological boundaries that protect women's spaces. Yet, despite this overwhelming pushback from sports legends and mainstream fans, league executives and vocal activists continue to double down on divisive agendas that alienate the vast majority of basketball fans.
Woman decided to stand up for women and female spaces. And that woman is now getting lambasted by other women because she doesn't support transgender people in female spaces. Sophie Cunningham, who many of you will probably know from this video, recently got herself in hot water because she had the audacity to say that women and girls should be protected.
WNBA star Sophie Cunningham, who plays guard for the Indiana Fever, when an ESPN feature quoted her opposition towards biological men competing in women's sports. She said she wanted to protect young girls both on court as well as in the locker room, calling her position kind of common sense. It has everything to do with reality.
The clash between common sense and corporate ideology has placed WNBA leadership in an impossible position. While courageous players like Sophie Cunningham risk public backlash to defend the sanctity of women's sports, figures like Griner continue to push narratives that provoke intense public outrage. The contrast between players who stand up for the truth and those who hide behind corporate buzzwords has exposed deep fault lines inside the league. But just as the media narrative began to spin out of control, viral online investigations and resurfaced footage suddenly turned the spotlight directly back onto Griner's own background, creating an explosive situation that league officials are desperately trying to sweep under the rug.
This jersey used to represent someone I respected as an athlete. Today it represents something I can't support anymore. Sports have the power to bring people together, but when someone uses their platform to demonize or marginalize an already vulnerable community, I have to decide where I stand. I'm burning my support. As a trans woman, I've spent years fighting just to exist authentically.
I will never understand how these people think this is some sort of a win for their side. Like, I am begging you people to be normal. Despite the monumental freakout, Cunningham didn't back down, which we love to see.
As public scrutiny reaches an all-time high, viral discussions across top media platforms have plunged the WNBA front office into absolute damage control. On the popular commentary show Valuetainment, a panel of analysts dissected resurfaced media footage on speculation and leaked video clips examining Griner's background, highlighting the total silence from mainstream sports networks regarding her time in Russian custody.
Brittney Griner, the WNBA's Brittney Griner, is in fact a man.
Value, Brittney. Let me see something real quick. Brick, thank you.
Damn. Look at the chest.
Jab stepping, just a brick. Swing and a miss.
It's very clearly Brittany.
I ain't gonna fake it right now.
They called him/her by their name. And as you can clearly see here, his bare chest is completely
Analysts pointed out the glaring double standards in how legacy sports outlets cover controversial league topics, noting that while private athletic organizations can attempt to promote whatever narratives they choose, taxpayer-funded sports and educational opportunities must strictly uphold biological fairness. The panel made it clear that basic biological traits, from bone density and lung capacity to raw muscle power, give male athletes an undeniable physical advantage over women, making biological boundaries in sports non-negotiable. This chaotic media circus highlights exactly why the WNBA was hemorrhaging money and struggling for mainstream relevance.
Again, cultural power. This is why the WNBA this is not going to go away. This issue is not going to go away. They're in such a bad position here. Caitlin Clark, they have cultural power. People love them. People are buying tickets that would never care about the WNBA. There's a reason why people call Sophie Cunningham MAGA Barbie, and people are starting to fill the arenas to watch her and Caitlin Clark. She's not apologizing for saying that there should be no men in this woman's sport. It's caused an absolute crisis, and people are losing their mind.
Caitlin Clark is an absolute all-star. She is the Michael Jordan of this. This is the girl that girls have been waiting for forever.
Caitlin Clark is a rising star in women's basketball. She's pulling in crazy viewership numbers.
These women spent $1,000 on tickets to attend the Indiana Fever versus Atlanta Dream game, specifically to see
For decades before generational superstar Caitlin Clark entered the league, the WNBA had been struggling for mainstream relevance. When Caitlin Clark arrived, she completely transformed the sport overnight, shattering viewership records, packing arenas across the nation, and driving unprecedented commercial value into women's basketball. Clark's electrifying play style, incredible shooting range, and pure passion for basketball brought millions of genuine sports fans into the seats, proving that audiences want elite, high-level basketball rather than forced political theater. Yet, instead of fully protecting and celebrating Clark's historic impact, league executives and activist commentators repeatedly allowed divisive culture wars to overshadow the game.
This thing that he's doing where he's pretending that he's a woman is very smart.
It really don't make a difference if you say he or she. To me,
some psychopath can just pretend that they're a woman and knock women over on the court.
I gotta take this out. Norman's a fucking woman, dude. I bet.
It's a giant dude. A giant dude just dominating these chicks. So the more controversy there is, the more people do come to see them. The crazy thing about the WNBA, imagine if the NBA had the same sexual dynamic. Imagine if the most of the team was a bunch of gay dudes who were very aggressive and black.
Joe Rogan noted during his broadcast that while the WNBA is suddenly receiving more public attention than ever before, league leadership risks completely blowing its golden opportunity by prioritizing radical posturing over the authentic fan base that Clark built. Players like Sophie Cunningham, who step up to protect their teammates and advocate for biological common sense, reflect the views of the overwhelming majority of sports fans who simply want fair competition and authentic athletic excellence. Meanwhile, figures like BRITTNey Griner, who demand that biological boundaries be erased, are finding themselves increasingly isolated from everyday Americans who value sports integrity. At the end of the day, real sports fans are exhausted by corporate double standards, weak executive leadership, and forced political agendas in women's basketball. Courageous figures like Martina Navratilova and Sophie Cunningham have proven that standing up for biological reality is not radical. It is fundamental to preserving the future of female athletics. If the WNBA wants to protect its future, the league front office must stop catering to vocal activist groups, embrace the common sense majority, and put the full weight of its organization behind authentic superstars like Caitlin Clark. What are your thoughts on BRITTNey Griner's stance versus Joe Rogan's critique of the WNBA? Do you agree with Sophie Cunningham's fight for biological fairness in women's sports? Sound off in the comments section below. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your fellow basketball fans.